This episode of Speakers of Eidolon is made possible by our generous patrons, like Chris, Craig Marshall, Bellafray Dragontooth, Clinway, Metalligo Phaleon, Amara May, Adam James, Dan Wilkerson, Christoph Haas, Centra, Mommy B, Amy Veris, Infinitron, Casey Schaefer, Alex Baus, and Omagi Cat Comet. Support the show and become a Patreon today at patreon.com/SpeakersXIV.
This is Speakers of Eidolon.
Good evening, Aorcians. Welcome to Speakers of Eidolon, episode 49. I am Lukile Bravestone, and this week I am joined by Orange Caramel, Yazz Pot, and Maela and Yazz. Yeah, we've been gone for a week. We played Stormblood, like everyone else. And now we're back to give our spoiler-free review of Stormblood. Before that, we have some. Well, I wouldn't call it breaking news anymore, but if you're on the EU data center, you might be experiencing some issues with the duty finder. There seems to be it seems to be very congested at the moment. Some people are like struggling to even like get in. So if you're struggling with that, know that they're probably working on it. But as far as I know, there's no official word from Square Enix yet. But it's probably just congestion. I tried to get Orange through leveling roulette because I'm a healer and I expected to have like 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes wait time as I've had the previous days, but that didn't work. So there's clearly a problem. Okay, let's just jump into today's show. We're going to talk a little bit about the channel today because a lot has happened since last time. Orange, Maela and I did an interview with the Moogle Post a while back. And so I think we'll be in the next issue, I think, of the Moogle Post. By the way, wait. I just realized that I have you guys muted.
Yeah, I was talking and you started
talking. I was
talking.
just talking over you.
Yeah.
Great start. Yeah, we were interviewed by the Moogle Post. We're not going to say what we talked about there specifically, but one thing was very clear when we were done with that interview. We are probably the least organized Final Fantasy XIV YouTube channel in the history of this community, I think, because we didn't know. I didn't even until they pointed it out. I didn't even remember we had a website. I think perhaps that interview might reflect how poorly we managed this channel. But yeah, that was fun. Also, that also reminded me that we haven't sent our pictures to Moogle Post yet, so we have to remember that. I also want to point out that our podcast is also on iTunes, which we rarely ever talk about iTunes, and there is like one thing I have to point out, and that is the reviews on our iTunes page. Because we have 3 reviews on that page.
Hey. Every
single one is addressed to Orange Caramel. And there is a background here. A few if you're a long-time viewer, you probably know about this, but a few months back, when patch, I think it was 3.55 or was it 5.6, we were a bit disappointed by the content. No one was more disappointed than Orange. And Orange did the cardinal sin of bringing up World of Warcraft. And people did not like that. In that period, those 3 reviewers left a message to Orange Caramel. Now, I don't actually have... I could actually read... I have to read it. They are too good. Yeah. Hold on. I'm going to find... yeah, the first one is just called To Orange Caramel. Why... Why do you play Final Fantasy XIV? Every episode, all you do is complain about almost everything. You should go back to WoW. I think you'd enjoy life much better. Your attitude towards things in-game brings down the show. I will admit that there has been some sloppy implementation and some things could use improvement. However, you hardly ever have a positive outlook on anything. That's like one of my favorite reviews. But then there's one, that guy gave us 3 stars. But then there's a guy that gives us 5 stars. And it doesn't say anything about Orange here. And I thought, oh, an actual genuinely positive review. It says favorite Final Fantasy XIV podcast at the moment. Oh. I've been listening to Speakers of Heightland since early 2015, when the show consisted of Lukile, Longan, and Vero Sombrero. The show has grown up so fast since then, and I love how the hosts work together. Ah, and then the next line, Orange has grown very negative lately. I think he might need a break from the game, as even I start to get a bit tired of his constant WoW versus Final Fantasy XIV comparisons. Other than that, I love the show. Oh, that was good. And then there's the worst one. Orange Caramel talks way too much, seems a little burned out. Time to take a break, mate. So if you're listening on
your sweet comments,
if you're listening on iTunes, it would be nice if you left a review that didn't mention Orange at all. That would be nice. Yeah, just wanted to point that out. Oh yeah, we're also now, okay, so this is a bit of a weird one. We need moderators because the only moderator we have is now on the show. Yes, is suddenly on the podcast. So it would be nice to have some more moderators. We also received some emails from people that wants to help like proofread and stuff. So if you want to do that, if you want to be like proofreader or writer, we're even looking for a producer. That needs the producer part is a bigger process. But if you're interested in any of that, send us an email at speakersofidlin@gmail.com. speakersofidlin@gmail.com. Also want to mention that before we talk about the No Clip documentary, which we are going to get to, our series, The Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV, is now in on a Chinese website with Chinese subtitles. I know that's a bit weird, but the guy, I gave him permission to do it, and there's like a feature on that Chinese website that I really wish we had here. I mean, it's when the comments scroll over the video at specific points. And I've been like binge watching my own videos with Google Translate on, watching those Chinese comments, and I hope it's just Google Translate being weird, but like they talk about like maple, there's like a lot of like it's Google Translate and Chinese doesn't work, nothing makes sense, but I love it. So a shout out to any Chinese anyone that watched the Chinese one, if you're watching. Okay,
I'm gonna say they're probably not, because they'd be watching the English version.
Okay. So No Clip released the first episode of the 1.0 documentary, and it was great, as expected. But we got a shout out in like the first 5-ish minutes, which was nice. Also a tweet later that pointed them to our content. Though that's okay, I have to tell you the hidden story, because if you watch the first episode of The Fall and Rise and then look at the second episode, you will notice a slight difference in quality. And the first episode, okay, when I made Fall and Rise, I made okay, so the process was, I made Fall and Rise, the script, but I had decided the concept was that it was going to be Lukile, my character, Lukile, guiding everyone through what was happening, or what happened. And I didn't have personality for that character yet. So I started out by making one video where I was completely plain, basically how I am right now. Then I made one where I was more balanced with a little bit of humor. And then I had those two. I remember I showed Orange. I think I sent it to Orange, the first version of the video, which was a very plain, almost boring version. Then I made one that was slightly better, and then one late night I thought I should make a very how do I put it? I wanted him to be not funny, but trying to be funny. This happened very late at night. So I rewrote the script and I added very cringe. The thing was, it was supposed to be it was supposed to be cringy, but it was supposed to be you were not supposed to cringe. It was it was a weird concept. Now I had I had three versions of the Fall and Rise in a folder. Now, because I had named them in a very specific manner, they all started the same and they ended the same. The only thing in between was in the middle. It was like version 1, version 2, version 3. So I decided I was going to go with the medium one, the one in between. So I just uploaded the one that I assumed was the normal one, and I left it there because at the time our channel was tiny. Like and I did not check my videos after I had uploaded them. I just left it there, and
we had 60 subs, or
we had no kidding. We had 60 or I think we had 70 subs maybe at the time. So I thought it's fine. And then I believe Kotaku picked it up, and then we started getting a lot of comments, and I started reading them. And at the time, I was done with episode 2, and I was working on outlining episode 3. And and I started reading, like, what the fuck is that Skrillex joke? And I was like, there's no Skrillex. And then it hit me. I had uploaded the Lukile on Drugs version, which was the one I least wanted to upload. And it was too late to pull it back. So if you're a new viewer and you just watched the first episode and you just randomly tuned into this live episode, please watch episode 2. That's how it's supposed to be. The first episode is just bad. It's just bad. So I remember I had to go back because I was almost done with the second episode. It was like ready to render. So I had to go back and add like a first portion where I apologize for the shitty quality of the first episode. It was a mess. So that's why that episode is so different from the other ones. Always good to get that out.
And of course it has like twice the views of all the other ones too.
Which is funny because you can see that only half of the people that watched the first episode stayed for the second one. Because it has like 102. Yeah, it has 102,000, and then it just drops to like 50 on the second one. So I'm sorry, but at some point I was playing with the idea of just switching it out, or maybe make another one, like an alternative first episode, just upload that one, because I still have the version that I wanted to upload, but yeah, it's too late now, obviously. Sure. So yeah, it'll just have to be like that. But at least now I can point. I'm gonna put this in the comments section, because you can even see on the desperation in my in the comments section. I think I've pinned like 2 messages. One of them is just a massive like disclaimer, because I put like because that video is so bad. I put like a trigger sound on when I show the Black Shroud 1.0 map, and I thought that was hilarious when I put that in. It was
hilarious. Oh, it was so funny.
But the rage in the comments was it was incredible. Yeah. Also the Skrillex. Let's not even talk about it. Let's move on. But I think I'm gonna just put this part of the podcast. I'm gonna link to this part of the podcast in the comments now for all the new viewers. Okay. Last part. We get a lot of weird requests in our inbox on speakersofheidland@gmail.com. Nothing beats the amount of spam we are getting from a woman called Maggie Yan. She is from a Chinese I don't know if it's Chinese. I think she does say Chinese, or gill selling or gold selling website. And she always starts out with, "I have a good cooperation offer with you," and it's like, and she's legit. She links to her web. It's like one of the biggest gold selling websites. How likely is it that a Final Fantasy XIV content creator would partner with a gill selling website? Like, why? And
I've talked to a few other people that also make 14 content. They've all been contacted as well. So they must be doing like a huge campaign, I guess. But like, as you said, who's going to take that? That's just being like, hey, do you want to make sure you're never on good terms with Square ever again?
Exactly.
Use us. Like, oh yeah, I'll do that for $500. Sure, whatever. Like,
it's and it's every other day she sends an email as if I'm ever going to respond.
Wow.
Yeah, she's pretty aggressive. I hope you're watching, Maggie Ann. I don't want to do that, so please stop, Maggie. Okay.
Why don't you just answer?
Because I fear that the moment I answer, she's just gonna go ham. She's just gonna go, I got him now. He's responding.
Maybe she's just trying to get your attention and you're not giving it to her.
Maybe. Okay. So that's that. So let's get to Stormblood then. We're not going to talk about what we. Okay, so Stormblood early access happened, and it was. I mean, to begin with, at least now speaking from a European server perspective, it seemed fine. We didn't have any server disconnects. I remember we actually said that. Like, we said like, oh wow, the servers are still up. They haven't crashed yet. That of course was until we got to Raoban. It's incredible how desperate people got. For those of you that didn't attend early access, let me quickly explain what happened. At some point in the main story, you have an instance battle where this is not a spoiler. You have to talk to Raoban to get into that. So the instance servers were just not working. They were down. Eventually, they just shut them down, and you got like a message saying that they didn't work, basically. But then, then they said they had solved it, and people were flocking to Raoban.
They didn't say they solved it. They said they alleviated it.
True. That's a very, very important difference. And let's just say people got heated. People got very heated because you had to they did it like it was like the worst thing, because not only did you have to click Raoban, the cutscene had to start. The cutscene had to like fade in, and then you had to skip the cutscene, and then you had to fade out. And you had to repeat this forever. And Orange and I eventually made like a macro on our keyboard.
I did that too.
Yep.
I did that too. I made a keyboard macro.
To get through there. And Orange got in early. I eventually gave up. So
you gave up. You gave up. So I kept trying. That was. Yeah.
So Maela and I did Palace of the Dead, and while we were doing Palace of the Dead, Orange got in, and that was the salt mines were open at that point. So I decided there's no way he's gonna get in, and I'm not getting in. So after
I was the only one because I was on voice chat with a bunch of friends, and I was the only one who didn't give up. I'm like, no, I'm getting through this today.
Right.
And everybody else was like, no, screw this, I'm done. And then as soon as everybody gave up, I was like, I'm in. I made it. And then they were just pissed right off. They ended up getting in about 7 hours later when I went to bed. But I actually made it through fairly early, all things considered. I was only stuck there for like 5 hours.
Yeah, well, that's not too bad.
Pretty bad, but it's
better
not
than
as bad as a lot of other people.
Because Maela eventually logged off. I think I can't remember when you left, but it was pretty late. I think we'd been on for
I think we probably got up to him at around like 2.
Yeah, 2-ish.
Maybe, and then at about 10 or 11, I gave up.
Yeah. At that point, we had been up, like the early access had been up for 12 hours or more.
Once we hit 12 hours, we were like, come on.
Yeah. So I decided to make a macro that would go forever. So I could just click that button, and as long as it would just loop endlessly. So I just put my my headset in, and I went to bed. And I just waited. And whenever I heard a change, because it was always the same rhythm with when it didn't work, and then eventually at I think it was 4 a.m., 3 or 4 a.m. there I was in, and then I got in. I did it would have been great if I died in that battle, but yeah, I heard some horror stories about people that actually died in there, and then I got in, and then it turned out that the bottleneck had widened a little bit, so more people got in. But the problem now was that all of those players were now moving into the other area. And I'm not going to say what area, but that area got very congested to the point where everyone had disconnection icons next to their names. And if you got close to a crowd, you would be disconnected unless you left that area real quick. And the problem was that you had to go to a quest NPC, and around that quest NPC was a lot of other people. So whenever you tried to deliver that certain quest, you would disconnect. Then there's the other NPC, which wasn't a problem for me, but a problem for a lot of other people. I don't know, is it a spoiler to say his name? Is it? I don't think it is. I think everyone knows at this point who that is.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't reveal any story elements.
We know he's in the story.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, at some point you have to interact with Pippin. And the same shit happens with him. But we have to talk about the other phenomenon that happened with Rauban. The queues. We have to talk about the queues.
God.
I think everyone knew deep down that the queue would never work.
Not really.
But as I said, when you're desperate, you do anything. Even Maela and I stood in that queue.
For hours.
For hours. And
I just decided to keep spamming.
But I reasoned with the fact that the people that are in the queue right now are not hammering the servers. So if we can keep people from going mental on, because of course there was always, you could like see samurais and red mages just slamming Rauban, but at least our queue was massive, and it went like all the way up to the Aetheryte almost. So it was a big queue, and it happened on every other server, but
I was that asshole who just walked past the queue. And
yeah, eventually I left the queue as well. But I remember we were like, because the queue moved, and everyone was like, the queue is moving, it works. What we didn't take into consideration is that the people in the front eventually gave up and left the queue, thus moving the queue forward. And everyone was like, I've seen the same people in the front of the queue for hours, yet the queue is moving. It's like, what is going on? And the closer you got to Rauban, the slower the queue went, and eventually just stopped. So it was funny to read, because there were the real like defenders of the queue, and then there were the ones that hated the queue and wanted to like troll everyone.
But it was useless at the end.
It was just there was no one was a winner in that situation. One could probably argue that the people that stood in queue at least alleviated the pressure a bit, and the bastards that didn't stand in the queue, they at least got in because of the people in the queue. Yeah. And me. There was a queue when I got into.
Now, I don't know. I got a really interesting byproduct of getting in before the majority of people got in.
Oh.
I got to experience almost the entire story.
What?
Like, I got to experience almost the entire story by myself.
Oh,
like there was nobody around me, which I think is like the time that I felt the most like the Warrior of Light that I could possibly be. Because like seriously, I think when I went into one of the later zones, there was 9 people strewn across all 3 instances.
Wow.
Like that's it, because no one had made it past.
The dream. Yeah.
And all the other instances past the first one worked perfectly fine. Like, because nobody was there.
Yeah.
Like when I got to Pippin, I was the only person standing in front of him at the time.
Wow.
So I got this really weird, like, I'm the only person in this entire game right now vibe. Like I thought I was playing obviously that sucked when I had to queue for a dungeon or something because nobody was past it. But I think there was enough people across all the servers on Aether that had made it past, so the queues weren't too bad. Also, I'm a tank, which probably saved me a lot.
Yeah.
But it was just this bizarre, like, is anyone here? Am I the only
Yeah.
Is every Raubon?
and the most perhaps annoying thing about being stuck there is because it was like in the first area, and it was in the smallest part of the big map, and it was like everything was gated because of Raubon. You couldn't go anywhere in the new zones.
I guess.
So some
people, I guess for people who were leveling Red Mage and Samurai, they were like
they actually they got some time to level that to 16.
But they couldn't do their job quests because at first, at least on my servers, there's an instance for your job quests on the very first quest.
Yeah.
And nobody could get that done because too many people were also spamming those ones. So there's a lot of people who are level 50 samurai, and they're like, well, I can't do my job quest, so I can't get my gear. Guess I'll just level it in Palace to 70 and then do all my job quests later. Like, which sucks a lot. That's really brutal.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
I also read that on some servers they the few people, the lucky few that got through Raubon and Pippin, they started charging people for getting to the other side of the wall. They would just...
Somebody asked me to do that, and I was like, I can't. Sorry, I can't.
Yeah, so it was an interesting early access, which is very... Because I posted the day before early access, I posted the last episode of Fallen Rise, and it was about the early access of A Realm Reborn and how awful that was.
The irony.
Little did I know that it would be a repeat of that almost. For the North American servers, it was way worse because the servers would constantly crash as well, which was not a problem in the EU data center.
We only got that Raubon problem. The rest was fine.
We watched streamers streaming Stormblood early access from North America, and they just they was just the login screen all the time because they couldn't get in.
It was especially bad on Aether because Aether's where both Gilgamesh and Balmung are. So specifically that data center was just getting slammed. To be honest, I didn't have very many problems. I was surprised. I think I maybe had like a handful of disconnects throughout the whole thing. I thought the biggest problems were the duty finder not working. And that wasn't so much related to the single player instances. It was just like, so often would you queue for a dungeon and you get in. Awesome, great. The queues are working. And then you 90k as soon as you get in, and you're not allowed to go back in until that expires. So you were locked out for, I think it was only 15 minutes because I think it would like auto kick your character out. But you couldn't log on, like you couldn't log on and be back in the instance. You would just have to start from scratch.
Oh my god.
So it was like, oh, let's see if they're working. All right, I got in. Okay, now go make a sandwich because you're not logging back in for 20 minutes. Like,
there was also, I think a lot of people had issues with how it was handled by Square Enix. It was a bit, the messages we got were a bit underwhelming at first because they were like, they did acknowledge it for a few hours later, but in the beginning it was just basically just wait. It's just
it's like they were okay with the choices they made. And we were like waiting in front of an NPC, queuing and queuing and queuing, and they didn't give us a solution for it.
Eventually, Yoshi P did issue a statement saying that they were working on the issue. They also released a statement a few days ago explaining that there was a DDoS attack at the North American data center, which should explain why the North American data center was so trash during early access. They did specify that it happened from the 16th and was still ongoing at the time when they issued the statement. So that would explain that. It doesn't explain the instance servers and Raubon, because that is on a different that is a different system altogether. It's not connected to the world servers at all.
That's really bad for Square Enix too, because like you look at the Steam reviews for Stormblood and stuff like that, like they took a huge hit because of all the server issues.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really disappointing to know in hindsight it wasn't necessarily all their fault. Obviously, I mean, I don't expect an MMO launch to go perfectly. They never do.
No.
But to think that like from a random attack from a bunch of assholes, they got hit pretty hard, like with probably future revenue and stuff like that, right? Like I would think so anyways, because
I mean, for an MMO, first impression is very important.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
And when your launch is, I mean, as you said, bad launches, that's our issues during launch. That's very normal for MMOs. But this was a very, like, especially for North American ones, where you could only be on for like 5 minutes, at least for some, before you got kicked out again and again. And I'm thinking about like reviewers and stuff that were probably, they were probably not too happy about that and not impressed. I haven't seen any reviews yet, but
I thought the biggest thing was Square Enix paid a bunch of streamers that don't normally play Final Fantasy to play it. And so it was being introduced to these new audiences that had never played the game, and all they saw was the Cold Steel quest over and over and over and over again. And like, you just like, I mean, even if I had knew nothing, I'd be like, this game is garbage. I'm probably never going to play it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't.
Yeah, it was bad all around. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. But hopefully those people somehow learn that there was a DDoS attack. I don't know. I mean, they have lost people forever, so probably due to this. But hey, it seems to be going, like, our server is constantly full, which brings us to the next issue, and that is the login queues. They are long. I don't know how it's on your server, Yazz, but how do you have like up in the thousands when you try to log in?
It depends. I've been playing a lot during the early morning. During the early mornings, everything seems to be fine. It's a few hundred people at most. But it was especially bad during the infamous North American disconnects, right?
Yeah.
You would disconnect, you go to log back on, and since so many people got kicked at the same time, you're looking at a 5,000 to 6,000 person queue. And I'm not even on a huge server. Yeah. I'm on a very mid-pop server. I mean, it's a fast-growing server, but it's like, it's not, you know, it's not Balmung or Gilgamesh or any of the EU servers. Like, it was...
It's pretty bad on our server. Even
for
now.
us, I think the longest queue we've got, for me at least, was 1 hour long, or maybe a bit more.
I've had like 2-3 hours sometimes.
Yeah, I've had that too.
I play in the morning and it's absolutely fine. But if I get kicked out after about 5 p.m, I'll just turn the game off. I can't be bothered. Yeah. There's no point.
There's no point.
In here as well.
There is always a queue, no matter what time you play.
Yeah, but
in the morning it's different because you only have like 50 or something in queue, and you can just skip it and just log right in. But if after 12, forget about it. If you fall out, because you're gonna have thousands in queue in front of you, and it's gonna take forever to get in. And it's especially annoying when you're stuck on a number for a long time, because that happens. Yeah.
It's not like real time shown.
No.
It's like a number that it doesn't represent what.
It's like an RNG number. They just put a number up there. Here's a number you can look at. That's it. Yeah. Hopefully this will go over. It will eventually, but it's still going on. But yeah, it's Okay. So that was
besides the servers, do you guys have like a general kind of rating you would give the expansion? I mean, you can include the servers or not include the servers, but were you very happy aside from this kind of stuff, or?
Well, yeah, we're gonna let's see. Yeah, no, I feel like Stormblood is probably, if you just ignore the launch issues, I think I would say Stormblood is better than Heavensward at launch. I have a very specific reason why, because I feel like Heavensward was, although it was a good expansion, it kind of felt like a Realm Reborn in terms of like the stuff they introduced. It didn't bring anything new in. We also know how horribly we're gonna get to that though. The Astrologian Machinist and Dark Knight was a bit of a mess at launch. Yeah, no, I think Stormblood is overall a very good expansion. Better than Heavensward in my eyes.
What about you, Maela?
It's difficult to say because of the issues.
Yeah,
I've not had a great time with it. As and of itself, it's been fine, but the issues have really impacted how much I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's also the thing, because you're a DPS. And...
Yeah, it's just been, if Lukile and Orange aren't online, I'm looking at 40-50 minutes, and when, like, for a normal queue, and when I get level blocked because, you know, the next quest is like 68 and I'm 67 and I have to do roulettes. I mean, I spent a whole day doing roulettes just to catch up.
Yeah, that's
just
that is an issue.
As and of itself, it is good. It's a good expansion. I've not done everything with it yet, obviously, but it's good. But the issues have been very bad. If I'd waited 2 weeks, it would have been amazing.
Yeah. We're gonna go a little bit into specifics, but yeah, Orange.
I think Stormblood has been a good journey, but I think Heavensward was better, at least in the leveling experience. What I really didn't like in Stormblood was that it followed the same pattern Heavensward did. Like the dungeons, the trials, they were all in the same like levels, and I don't know how to explain, but it felt like it was Heavensward 2.0.
I can totally understand what you mean. Like it was very predictable. It was all along the exact same.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about it, but much. But remember when you finished the area, you got a mount at level 55. The ship, you got a mount at level 65, and something happened in
let's not go in there.
A dungeon after that I'm not going to say, that also happened.
Well,
kind of. So it made me think like they played safe and wanted to make another Heavensward. But don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Heavensward. Well, that too, but I enjoyed the Stormblood, and but I don't know, I felt like they should have tried something different. But
right,
like I said, it has been a good journey.
We'll get to more specific stuff. Actually, we can do that right now since we're on the subject. The thing that okay, let's see here. Okay, spoiler free, but just quality wise and how it went. Like how did we experience the main story compared to Heavensward? Without spoiling anything. It's going to be tricky.
I had such a bizarre interaction throughout Stormblood, because I would be pretty much screaming at the top of my lungs, I hate this game. It doesn't work. It's the worst game I've ever played. Obviously, I was, not meaning it, but like, I was just like, why? This launch is horrible.
Yeah.
And then I would experience more of the story. And especially like once you complete the entire thing, it's just like I was blown out of the water, and I was screaming, I love this game so much. Like I was so polar opposite on how I was feeling. It was like I was like schizophrenic throughout playing it. I'm like, this is the worst. Oh my god, I love it. This is so bad. Like I was all over the place.
Yeah.
excluding server stuff, though, the main story is by far, in my opinion, the best main scenario that has been in Final Fantasy XIV. And honestly, if I'm being legit, it's probably up within my top Final Fantasy stories in general.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I give it some high praise.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I think one of the main reasons why I like this story more is because it's more relatable than the Heavensward one, where you in Heavensward it's all about like dragon song war. It doesn't, one thing that I noticed is that they barely spoke any Old English in the Stormblood main scenario.
Oh god,
That's true.
In Ishgard, they were like, "Oh, thou, wow, wow." It was just like, I don't understand what you're saying. It was like no one speaks like that, and you can't relate.
Would you like to go to church?
It's like, yeah. And in Stormblood, it was just like plain, which instantly pulled me in more than Heavensward. So yeah, it's, and I think most people would agree that it's more relatable because it's very everyone
Admittedly,
knows.
By the time Heavensward was a thing, I was getting very sick of dragons as well. I also think, again, I'm going to speak this very broad, but I felt like this story was more self-contained as well. It had a much more definitive beginning and end, opposed to a lot of the other stuff that's been in previous expansions.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like a really big plus for me. It wasn't like, and now wait till 4.1 to finish the story. Which I found Heavensward did very, very poorly. I mean, the story didn't finish until 4.3, right?
Yeah.
When definitively wrapped it up, and it was just, it didn't necessarily feel like a self-contained expansion. It felt like a giant patch.
Yeah.
This to me did not feel like a giant patch. This felt like a brand new expansion.
Yeah, I agree. Maela, do you have any thoughts?
Heavensward was very sort of stuck in the past in the story. So from a lore-wise point of view, it was very intriguing. I mean, you learned a lot about Ishgardian history. You learned a lot about the world previously, where Stormblood was very here and now. This is what we're doing. You don't really dig into the past. So it definitely was sort of a different pace, but I liked it. I felt it had quite a few ups and downs. So there were some zones which I found a bit dull, and some that I found absolutely fantastic. But you know that I haven't even quite finished it.
So you haven't finished it yet.
I haven't done the 70s stuff.
Okay, let's do that after this.
We'll do that after this. But it's been good. So
if you get into the game,
if we get in, Orange, thoughts?
Well, I like this story in Stormblood, but there were levels where I was thinking, am I really enjoying this? I remember those levels were 62 and 65, where the story I didn't like the story much, but there were others like 64 and 67 that made me think, oh my god, I'm really enjoying this. The story and the lore. This is very good. And that made me realize this. So, in my opinion, Heavensward was more consistent, but Stormblood had really good moments. I'd say that. And one thing Stormblood had and Heavensward didn't was that it had really good characters. Like I really liked Yotsuyu, Gotetsu, and like a lot of them. And with Heavensward, I don't know. It wasn't that focused on characters, in my opinion.
Heavensward lacked a very good villain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it did. Yeah. I mean, Nidhogg was
right.
Nidhogg.
But
Nidhogg.
I'm sorry, Maela. I'm sorry. But
yeah,
that's what I thought.
I agree.
Heavensward was.
But the good thing is that I enjoyed both Heavensward and Stormblood. That's what it matters.
And that's another big thing about the main story that I like. The voice acting is on point in this expansion.
There's a lot of it.
Yeah, there's a lot. And it's very good, and it's clear that the actors have actually gotten some time to get to know their character a bit before. Because if you compare because this is unfair, but if you compare the voice acting from A Realm Reborn with Stormblood, you will probably there's like a world of difference.
Yeah.
In A Realm Reborn, it's like someone just handed someone a script in like a shack, and they just had to like read it quickly and get it over with. In Stormblood, it's like quality voice acting. I actually read people that have played the game on Japanese forever because of A Realm Reborn. They switched just for a little bit to English just to listen to the Stormblood voices, and they just stuck with English throughout the rest.
But don't you feel weird after listening to different voice actors?
Yeah, the thing is that we predicted that they might change the voice actors. They didn't.
Like they changed in Heavensward, now they changed again.
They didn't change.
No, they didn't change them.
The voice actors are the same for everyone. At least from what I could hear. Yeah.
They sounded the same to me, but they were either just really good.
Yeah, I think that's just the difference. They actually
randomly got really good.
Yeah.
I think this script was way more well written as well.
They increased the money.
Yeah. they got paid
true.
more.
It's true.
They went from
What if you doubled your salary? If you doubled your salary, how would you sound then?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that was great. And I just have to say, because of that voice acting, Xenos is incredible.
Gotcha.
Hands
My
down
opinion,
the best villain. Like
he might be
top he's like on my top list.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorite Final Fantasy villains now. Like his voice, his everything about him just blew me out of the water. I was not expecting to like him so much.
No.
Especially because I was like, oh, he's super edgy and badass, right? Like he's gonna be super predictable, and he was not predictable in the slightest.
Nope.
That is slightly unfair though, that the first 9 games didn't have voice acting.
True. That's true.
Well, yeah, right.
That's true.
Right.
One thing I liked about Xenos is that make us players feel really weak compared to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many
Oh god, he's
occasions,
just really
and
good.
that is like a good feeling. Like this is something strong, something you cannot defeat.
Yeah.
And well, remember when like 10
careful
or 9 podcasts ago, I
right.
asked for some villains, or some good villains, well-made villains.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we got them.
Yep, they came with
So
Stormblood.
I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy.
Yeah. Okay, let's get out of the main story, tiptoe out of there. Let's talk about the zones, how they were designed. Because we talked a few podcasts ago about this, what we wanted. Because I think Maela and I were agreed pretty much on this, because we felt like the Heavensward areas were a bit bland and nothing much going on in them.
Yeah.
Did that change for you, Maela, in Stormblood?
Yes, I've felt they've really made the zones not only sort of from each other very different, but within each zone there are lots of different sections that are all quite unique. For example, one of them, I won't go too into it, but it's like a swampy area and then a deserty area. Yeah, I really liked the zone so far.
Yeah. Yes?
I loved them.
Yeah.
I had a few problems with the hoops they make you go through sometimes to get from one side to another, or there's a few zones where that's kind of annoying, where especially like I get the progress of not being able to fly and then being able to fly, but then there's even some where after you unlock flying, it's still a chore to get to the other side.
Yeah.
Which I don't really understand, because when you're flying, they should kind of just say, okay, whatever. But as far as like actual design goes, I loved almost every single zone. I thought they were all great. I think they especially did a good job of making the settlements feel a lot more unique.
Yeah.
Like almost every single thing on your teleport list is vastly different from each other, right? And like some of the cities, I was like, I would love to live here. Like it's not just 4 houses with an aetheryte in them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
I find that to be like probably one of my favorite things. Is I just love exploring the actual cities. It makes doing side quests feel better too. Yeah, I love them.
Orange?
I guess I agree with you. There's not much I like to add.
No.
I really like the other areas. They felt like better than the Giravania ones, in my opinion. They put more work on them, I think.
Yeah.
So, like some of Giravania areas felt like, I mean, Thanoland, like remastered, but and the other ones felt more unique. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
do you have a favorite zone?
Yansha.
Mine's Yansha as well.
Yansha,
But Asim Steps is up there as well.
Yeah, Asim Step is so good too. I didn't think I'd like Asim Step, but
no,
because it was just empty. But yeah, it's beautiful.
Mine is probably either Azim Step, or I'm super in love with the bottom half of the peaks as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's one city in particular, the main hub there, that that's specifically what I'm talking about when I'm like, I love this city. You'll know when you see it because it looks nothing like the rest of the game. This city is dope. I want to live here. Like, open a residential area here, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Also want to just mention Kugane looks very good.
A little bit of a side note, but have any of you tried the jumping puzzles yet?
No, I haven't.
I still don't know how people get on the roofs.
That's the jumping puzzle.
I tried to, get there by myself without looking at the internet and guides, but I couldn't make it.
Like, you're talking about the roof of the tower, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the tower.
Yeah.
It's like
beautiful.
I spent like 3 hours doing it yesterday.
Wow.
I didn't make it.
You didn't even. Nice.
No, because I was like,
spent.
Because it was closing on 2 a.m. and I was scared that I was gonna get kicked off. So I was like, well, I have to leave the zone now.
Right.
So,
yeah, I saw some people on there, and it took me 5 minutes to just figure out that this is just gonna take forever. I can't do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anything else about the zone? Oh yeah, as we said, I think something that's always bothered me a bit is the aetheryte placements they do. It feels like they probably, some aetherytes are very close to each other, and then the rest of the map is just like aetheryte less. There are at least 2 maps that has that issue, which was the same issue I felt they had with Kurth's Western Highlands, which just has one aetheryte.
But once you get to fly
in the broken one for no reason.
Not even flying in Kurthis is worth it because it's in the bottom right-hand corner of the entire map. It's awful.
Yeah.
Quick word on Shirogane. Any thoughts?
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
The housing district.
Me and Luke had a run around.
I got a plot picked out. Hopefully I can get it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, same.
Oh, one thing I forgot to say, and I'm very surprised about it, is that you can't swim wherever you want. It's like there are a lot of places that you can't swim, and I'm very surprised by that.
A lot of people, that's I've seen that, especially in the housing districts, and like in areas like Mist and in Shirogane.
When we were
same
stuck at Robin, I decided to go to the Mist and swim there, and I was very surprised that they didn't not swim in that housing area.
One would assume that was like one of the first areas they opened.
Yeah, and I think I read that happened because it will be unfair for other housing districts. I think Yoshi P said that.
Yeah, that's what I think.
But again, it's very weird. I mean, what? You can swim there. Why don't you?
I wouldn't say it is, because there's a place you could swim in the goblet. You could swim in the middle thing. There's water there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's like a little waterfall, isn't there?
The cascade,
you should be able to.
So you can swim in the goblet.
You can't.
Oh, you can't. Okay, I thought you said that.
I'm saying that if they added it wouldn't be unfair because there's places in each residential district where you could swim.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And also, if you jump into the water from a very high distance, you get like hit by the water.
That's the worst thing. That's what makes it like seem just badly designed again. Very essay.
We're gonna talk about swimming in a bit, but let's just finish the talk on Shirogane. I was there with Maela yesterday. We're trying to, of course, like everyone, trying to find an FC house plot, which is, I just know we're never going to get one because our server is hell on earth when it comes to stuff like this. But we're gonna try. But it looks great. I love it, like when you from the docks and you walk up. it's like a real like city. Like it's you walk into like a shopping area almost, and it's really nice. It has like hot springs. In like hidden areas, so some of the mansions have like their own little hot springs in the back.
It's definitely the most detailed of all the residential districts.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And at nighttime when all the little lights are on.
Yeah. Oh God.
And that's without houses in it. So imagine how much better it's gonna look.
Yeah.
With actually houses there, and it's not flat ground.
Yeah.
It's gonna look amazing.
Yeah. I can't wait to not get a house there.
Can't wait to not get. Yeah, God, it's gonna be great.
Oh, I'm getting one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try, but
That's what our second.
We'll get login errors again.
yeah, that happened. But at least this time we don't have to relinquish the plot before we buy a house, which is a big deal.
It's safer.
Yeah,
it's like you get it, okay, but if you don't get it,
we still
will
have
your house.
Yeah. Okay. Goblet life forever. We might actually free up some spaces in like the other districts.
True. So. If we don't get one quickly, it might be worth just scouting Mist and whatever the other one's called.
Yeah.
Gridania.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on then to what were we talking about? Yeah, let's talk about swimming then, because since we started talking about it, how do we feel? I have some issues with this. We talked about this a few episodes back because they said that it was without loading screens. That was like the big deal.
Yeah.
Is there not a tiny loading screen there?
You mean for swimming?
For diving, I would say it's not even a tiny loading screen. I would say it's quite a big loading screen.
It is a pretty obviously large loading, because your UI disappears for a few seconds, which is the first telltale sign that something is loading in.
Loading the screen because you get the bubbles.
But it doesn't make sense because
it should just be there.
You can see the people who's there, right?
You can see when you're underwater. You see the people above you. You can see everything, and it gets weirder because there are underwater settlements where you have to enter, and there's a very clear loading screen there.
Yeah,
but you can see everything going on inside, because like in the one with the Aetheryte, you can actually look at people. Even their fucking names are there. You can target them if you're in a party. It doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
So
I think you'd think it would be the same as having somebody standing on the ground to transitioning into flying. Is it that much different?
Yeah, it just shouldn't be an issue.
I don't understand that. And I especially don't understand why they had to emphasize then that there was no loading screen. Because there's very clearly a loading screen there. Yeah.
I also think the reason that we get damaged when we go into the water, if we are very high in the distance, is because there is a little, very tiny loading time where the system detects that you're about to swim.
Yeah.
From the ground to swim. I think, but it's not like there is not a loading screen, but it's like a very tiny loading time where the system detects you to go into the water.
Yeah, because when you're above water, you cannot see underwater, I believe. I think that's just blurred. So it has, at some point, whatever's underwater has become visible, and the system has to like put you into swim mode. I think that's probably what's happening there, but that doesn't actually solve whatever the fuck is happening to the settlements, because everything is loaded in already. It doesn't make sense. You can see you can even see the quest NPCs.
Yeah.
PS3 limit. Oh wait.
Maybe it's the PS4. Maybe this is the first PS4 limitation.
The next step. Okay.
And it's really irritating when for diving you can use your mount and then you surface and it takes you off your mount.
Yeah.
And then if you jump in by accident and you're on your mount and it takes you off your mount.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have a mount? Just make it go slower.
Well, actually, if you have unlocked flying in that area, if you go.
You stay on it, but
up to the surface. You stay in your mount.
But you can't swim.
But you can't swim, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you were on land and you're not flying, and you have flying unlocked, you'll still get off your mount when you get in the water, unless you fly straight down.
Yeah, I got what you meant. Okay.
And then if you surface, I assume it still takes you off.
No. Well, if you have flying, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No,
you'll just fly right above them.
Oh, you have to fly up. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's really weird.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any implementations of swimming that you really enjoyed? Because I know for me specifically, none of the swimming surprised me whatsoever up until one of the last zones, where I thought that they actually they did something really, really interesting with it, where I was diving in a place that I wasn't expecting to dive, and I thought it was like well used in a sense, like different at least.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys felt that way.
Yeah, I felt that about that last part. Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
But other than that, it didn't. It's just flying.
Yeah.
It's just flying. It's flying with a filter on, and for some reason having to load every time you start. So yeah, it feels like this is gonna get a lot of updates in the future.
I guess.
Yeah.
I remember I laughed a lot when I got my first loading screen. When I got into diving, I was like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it is quick. It is a really quick.
It is
load.
it's quick. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just surprised that
I don't know why they said it wasn't going to be there.
One thing I got really surprised for good that in diving is that there are a lot of very detailed things. Under the water.
Oh yeah, the actual underwater part is pretty well made.
Yeah, like a ship. I remember like a ship in Ganshi, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a side quest and that was very cool. I think I like that.
I thought the specifically in the Ruby Sea, there's like small little pockets which don't serve any purpose besides just having a handful of enemies in them. I thought that was like really interesting too.
Yeah. I mean, it's streaming. How can we get amazed by that?
I also there's a dungeon that you can unlock, and it's like very far below the water.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool, but there's nothing else in there than the dungeon, of course. But
I wish you could go in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wish I could
it or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Maela?
I mean, I thought the underwater zones were really pretty, but it was the loading screen was just infuriating. Why do you have to press control and space to dive? Why can't you just swim downwards?
Weirdly enough, mine wasn't even mapped. It was like press control and space. I'm like, control space.
Oh.
Nothing happened. All right.
Nice.
I had to go my girlfriend had to hotkey it. It's like it wasn't even mapped already.
Nice.
For me and her. It was like
that's weird.
What?
I mean, this is swimming that was added in the MMO in 2017.
Yeah.
And you have to press a special button combination to go underwater. I mean, come on. It's great. It's great that you added swimming.
That time where you were doing a side quest and you thought that quest was not under the water, and then you had to go down again under the water, and it wasn't there, so you had to load the screen again. That was very annoying. I think that was the only time where I got annoyed by the loading times again and again.
Yeah,
I think all in all, it did feel very tacked on.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily feel like it needed to be there for any reason whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a bit.
I agree with what Maela said. It was like basically it was to make the game prettier in a sense. I like being less limited and exploring. Good thing. Like if I see something in a zone, I would like to be able to go there and look at it, which is great. But it just didn't feel. I haven't done any spearfishing or underwater gathering though, so I don't know if that
Me neither.
for certain people.
Me neither.
I feel like it's not like an addition to the engine. It's not like a movement feature. It's like a Stormblood feature.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And it could easily just disappear in the next expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's like the new thing, rather than just being part of the game.
Consistent like flying, where we're clearly going to see flying in almost every future expansion. You don't think we're going to see swimming in many of the future expansions?
We will probably see it, but it won't be a big deal by then, and it might not even be. It just, I don't know. There's something about it.
Yeah, it's too restrictive to be of any good use, I think.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it. It's just you're underwater, and that's.
Yeah, you can't fight it underwater.
Yeah, there's like nothing. I can't see anything. Maybe they have something planned that's gonna make it better, but right now it's just a funny gimmick they added to the game.
I remember they said that there will be water inside raids, and you know.
Yeah, because that surprised me. There's only one dungeon that has just a second of swimming.
I never tried.
I haven't tried either. I'd probably not. Which
if you jump in water, do you disengage from enemies?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
Because that will be good in a raid, won't it?
Oh, dude, that probably because there's one. I don't know if this is not a spoiler. This dungeon isn't even story related. The dungeon where you have the swimming thing in. I don't know if they've fixed it, but that enemy that you encounter right after swimming into that circular area where that mob is, if you pull that one, try to pull it to the next area of mobs, it will disengage and run back.
Copper Bell Mines.
Could that be? Yeah, but it's worse because you can't progress unless you kill it. So every time I do that dungeon, the tank pulls that one and goes for the next one. I'm like, no, fuck. And the other ones are just like, it's this close to dying and it just resets and goes back. But that might be because of the water. That it automatically disengages when you get close to the water. That might be why. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I was being attacked by a mob, like on an area. I think it was Yansha, and I got into the water and it reset it.
Yeah.
Didn't they specifically say that they were making like underwater death animations and stuff like that specifically because you'd be able to die?
Yeah. And
did they just take that out, or
no? The play dead emote works in water, so
that's what I said when we got to see the first swimming footage. I told you that was the play dead emote.
Yeah, there's a dead Lalafell in the water in the one of the first trailers. But
right. Didn't they say like in an interview that you would be able to actually die in the water?
They're going to add bombs in 4.1.
They said
steam mines.
Just bombs everywhere.
They said that you could die in water, and I think maybe from like dots or whatever, or if you jump into water while being engaged with an enemy, you would probably die.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably something that's can happen, but I don't think they can attack you in water.
Okay.
Right. So that was that. Let's talk about the side quests. Compared to Heavensward, I found the side quests to be much better than in Stormblood. First of all, because of the placement of the side quests, because usually the side quests were all like grouped in like distinct areas that you could like when you were in that area, you could just pick up all the side quests and do them and deliver them in the same spot. In Heavensward, the side quests were all over the fucking place. Especially like the Churning Mist. We all know about the Moogle shit that went down there. And I feel like they put a lot of more effort into the side quest this time, especially one in the underwater. I can't remember the name of them for right now.
Kurenai.
Yeah,
that is the best thing ever. I love that.
I was almost surprised it wasn't part of the main story, to be honest, but because that's where you encounter like what I almost felt like became almost a mascot, like that. What is it, like an otter or whatever with a Chinese hat? I can't remember. I don't know what it is, but that's where that one is introduced in that side quest.
And the way you get that as a minion is really weird too.
Yeah, but
strange.
Side quest wise, what do you guys think?
I mean, I haven't done them all, but I was absolutely blown away with how interesting the storylines were for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kurenai was probably more interesting for me than the main story quest at that time in it. And some of the ones in Azim Steps, you know, learning about the different tribes. I mean, they're just really good.
Mm-hmm.
Just really well written.
I admittedly haven't done that many.
Right.
I've been kind of trying to save them for one of the DPS jobs that I don't necessarily want to level through dungeons, which is only one of them. We'll talk about that later when we talk about jobs. Yeah. But so I've kind of been saving them. I've done everything that adds content, you know, anything with the little plus on it. I've done all those, and even those were really fantastic. Like I thought, connecting it to the next topic, I thought Aether Currents were much easier because of how enjoyable they were this time around.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like it was a huge issue. And as you guys said, the story is actually quite good in a lot of these side quests.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think again, just the placement that it's very available because and there was a lot of them. There's a lot of side quests, and they're all like in their own little areas. So I don't think if you want to level using side quests, you have a lot of side quests to go through. So and of course there's the usual, you know, you complete one side quest, it unlocks another one. So I like that, and of course the Aether Current quest with a plus sign God, I can't believe how we survived without that plus sign now. How we did ether currents with Heavensward, where you never really knew how, like, because back then you had to like do specific side quests to unlock the ether current side quest, and you never knew which one. Oh,
sometimes
God.
it's a chain too, like
Oh Lord, that was
it was brutal.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Orange, do you have any last words on the side
I won't
quest?
say much because I skipped them all. I mean, I don't read the side quest. I have enough with the main story.
Yeah, but still, do you compare that to when you did side questing in Heavensward?
I found them amazing. But I also enjoyed Muggles. So
yeah, I still can't believe how
the
you.
Churning Mist
them.
Yes.
I did them twice with my alt, and I enjoyed them.
Like I really enjoyed the
why.
dailies.
I don't hate Moogle Quest that much either.
Oh my God.
Moogle dailies are good. But the Moogle
No, I'm not talking about Moogle dailies.
I like them all.
The Churning Mist quest.
One thing.
Okay, everyone, let's calm down.
But I will add that one thing I really liked was the dart quest.
Yeah, let's not go too into detail here now, but yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, those were I like.
They were Metal Gear Solid.
What?
They were like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. Okay, we can probably talk about that. There's a new you blow darts at things. That's a thing that's in Stormblood, and I like
we're
that.
a first-person shooter now.
Yeah, we're exactly. I like that they tried something different. Is this the never before seen in an MMO though? Is this the
It
future?
can't be. It's definitely been another game.
They've never seen this before. Oh,
We've
no.
got him this time.
Secretly, that's our next job. We're gonna get the Musketeer, and it's all first person. You have
Yeah.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't. You'd be like, "Where's the AOE?" You'd have to look down.
Allow me
The
to
fact that
say,
there's no like drop on the bullets. It's just point blank. You just click.
Yeah, you
but
just hit.
allow me to say that minigame worked much better than Chocobo Racing.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Mhm.
It was much more precise and it was fine.
Yeah.
Do you think Chocobo Racing was affected by the DDoS attacks?
Oh no.
That's probably like the only instance that was working. Like everyone's like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Player instances are broken. Chocobo Racing works just fine.
That's his own instance.
Finally,
We have
it responds within 5 seconds of clicking space. That's amazing.
We have upgraded the Chocobo Racing data center.
Thank God.
That's where all the money went, right there.
There we go. Oh yeah. Okay. So let's before we start talking about how we like what they did with the dungeons and trials, let's talk about White Mage. I think our viewers demand an update on the White Mage situation. You know what? It's not too bad. I'll say that. The Lily system is still like it's not overwhelmingly good, but after about a week using it, I've already sort of worked out how to use it. You just cast 3 Cure 2s and now you can use a size quicker. But the thing I have to say is that Confession stacks and the Divine Bention, Planetary Indulgence and Divine Bention especially is useless. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it works if you want, because it's gone like that. When you compare it...
I thought Planetary was way more useful.
Planetary is more useful, but Divine Bention...
I don't like Planetary Indulgence at all. I hate it.
Planetary Indulgence is just, how do you, like, okay, so when I get like, oh, I get a Confession stack, I don't need to use it yet. Okay, I guess I'll wait. Maybe I'll get a second stack so I can refresh that timer. Never happens. Runs out. Seconds later, I need it, and it's gone. The timer on Confession stacks has to go to make this useful. Sure, just lower the chance of it to proc. That's fine, but remove the fucking timer because it's pointless at this point.
It'd be great to save for after a tank buster. If you had 3 stacks, save for a tank buster, and then you don't need to cast a spell.
Yeah.
But you're right, you can't do that right now at all.
Exactly.
Confession stacks are bizarre.
They are bizarre, and they just don't work. So please fix. The Divine Bention it's gone before you even cast it. It doesn't help anything really. Like I feel I can't remember the potency of Stone Skin, because some say, oh, it's just Stone Skin. No, it's not Stone Skin. Stone Skin could hold back more than that. I think it's 15% of max HP is what it absorbs, which is nothing. And I thought, okay, maybe I can use it in a tank buster, I guess. But first of all, you spend all your lilies, which you could have used on a Tetragrammaton or a size to get a reduced cooldown. I'd rather use Tetragrammaton than use Divine Bention. So, yeah, those two are the ones I have issues with. The rest is fine. Thin Air is amazing. Not having any MP cost on any of my spells is amazing. I can just spam the shit out of Holy for 12 seconds. Yeah.
Have you been into any of the extreme primals yet?
No, I haven't. I've been waiting for the others.
I think you will find you'll like White Mage even more there. I personally think that White Mage is the best healer for that type of content. I think it's probably going to shine a lot during Omega. Like I think White Mages are going to be a really great to have, because it seemed like they cranked the damage numbers up quite a lot. Yeah. I know there's one tank buster in Susano that will one-shot the tank. Like it's a one-shot kill if you have 0 cooldowns up. Like you have to have something. You either have to block it or have at least a minimum of a rampart or some sort of shield. It does almost exactly my health.
Oh, right.
So like the heals are big and they're needed. And honestly, I think that White Mage tends to shine more than Scholar, which I think has been kind of getting shit on the entire expansion.
We have to talk about Scholar. We need to talk about Scholar because everyone was so busy throwing salt at White Mage, we didn't pay attention to Scholar. Scholar has been hit pretty hard, and I tried it immediately after I got to 70 on my White Mage because I thought, okay, Scholar's probably going to be great now. No. One thing I don't like about what they've done to healers is that the MP, because they've okay, I'm just going to say that the thing they've done with healers is that they have made them the same in a sense. It's hard to explain, but for instance, because they have decreased the MP refresh of Etherflow, they now need to use Lucid Dreaming to keep their MP up, because Scholar used to be like the class that had infinite MP. They would never run out, but now they do, and they run out way faster than White Mage because they increase the MP cost of Adloquium and Sucker. Like everything actually is just it's bad right now. And to make it worse, they lowered the potency of what's it called? Broil? No, wait. Did they decrease Broil? I can't remember right now.
But you get Broil too.
Yeah, Broil too.
Broil too. Yeah.
What was it? Shit. I forgot. Yeah, Bane is just shit.
Is garbage.
It's garbage now, which to me does not make sense, because now what role has Scholar got now? It used to be like it was the off healer back then, because it could output some really decent damage. But now it's just, what the fuck? Where does this fit in? Where does Scholar fit in now? It's just in limbo right now, because
we'll have to wait for Omega and see.
I gave up on Scholar because it was too much of a hassle.
I don't think it's going to be very great in Omega. It could get changed. It absolutely could get changed, but
I've noticed that healers seem to run out of mana more quickly than they used to these days.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Except for, I think White Mage is doing pretty good on. They fixed more of what, because I'm running. Well, I do feel like I'm running out more often than I did in Heavensward, but at least I have utilities like Thin Air to keep me on top of things.
Well, they increased Cure 2's MP cost by quite a bit, right?
They did. So, and that is how you get your Lily. So you'd want to use Cure 2 a lot. But the thing that I don't like what they've done with healers, as I started saying, is that they've sort of made it so that because of what they've done to Scholar needs to cross roll lucid dreaming as well. So now you're left with this, like a scholar has to take almost this exact same things as a white mage. They have the exact same cross-roll actions. I mean, if you're in a raid situation, of course you can have one healer do the Asuna, and then a scholar can have eye for an eye, for instance. But like in a just a regular dungeon scenario, they have to pick the same stuff, because you can't have a healer without Asuna in your party, and you don't want your scholar to run out of MP, so they need to have lucid dreaming, and everyone wants protect and the divine what's it called now? The thing that was divine seal before, Largesse.
Largesse,
yeah, whatever. That one. And everyone wants extra good heal, so they wanted to pick that. And that's your lineup. So all the healers are the same now in terms of cross-roll actions. So I feel like they've lost a bit of personality. The only thing with Scholar now is EOS, which the level 70 skill with the Fey Union thing. Oh my goodness.
The fact that the base heals coming from EOS they've scaled so poorly.
Yeah.
I think at first, when I was leveling and I wasn't level 70 yet, I was thinking, well, maybe scholars are just mad because they're used to not having to pay as much attention. Like before they could just AFK for an entire dungeon and just, you could pretty much /follow somebody and you clear the dungeon with no deaths and hardly anybody passing 50% HP.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, oh, maybe that's just the case. Like maybe they just have to be a lot more active and they're actually being forced to heal.
Yeah.
No, that's not the problem.
No.
The problem is in general that it's scaled so poorly that like I'm being physicked for 3k at 68 or level 70. It's like 4k. It's like that is horrible. It's really bad.
Yeah. I feel for the scholars right now, because they were not expecting this. They were expecting white mage to be the big loser in Stormblood, but it seems like scholar might have actually beaten us here.
Especially came from higher up and got dragged way further down.
Yeah. It's sad. Astrologian I haven't dabbled too much in, but from what I've heard, it's okay. It's fine. Yeah. So right now I think you have Astrologian, white mage, and then scholar like far below here. Yeah. So
just as a quick side question, have they taken Stone Skin away from all healers?
Yes.
Because it is still in the game. Because in my level 70 Black Mage quest, an NPC cast Stone Skin on me.
Yeah, there are a lot of NPC that...
So it's still there.
Yeah.
Why don't you have it?
If you actually look farther, Lise uses Touch of Death.
Yeah.
All the ninjas in certain dungeons use Kiss of the Wasp and Kiss of the Viper.
Yeah.
A Dragoon uses Phlebotomize. An Archer uses Wide Volley. Every single ability that was taken out of the game, a different NPC will use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been like they've wanted to remove Stone Skin like ever since 1.0 for some reason. I don't know why. But they gave us Divine Vengeance instead. I mean, that's okay. Let's not talk about that anymore. Okay, so the other jobs. I've only heard about Samurai being pretty OP.
Samurai is so OP. Yeah. Once you get to know the potency of his attacks, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's so high. Why did they do that?
It's also very easy to play on top of that. Yeah. So even a pretty bad Samurai can get some really good damage.
Three 1-2-3 rotations, which are really easy. It's like 1-2-3, like I said.
Yeah.
But now that I'm playing it and I was looking at the all these skills, it's so OP compared to the other melee classes. I'm of course leveling that one instead of Dragoon now. Yeah, no joke about it.
Thank God.
So
Samurai is really fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
I don't care. I don't really care if it's got a high DPS or low DPS. It's really fun. Doesn't really matter, does it?
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is.
Personally, I like it a lot more than Red Mage. Red Mage is the job I was talking about earlier, where I'll probably level through side quests. Not that I dislike the way it's built or anything like that. I'm just bad at it. Like I consider myself pretty good at almost all the jobs, at least at an adequate level. And I was playing Red Mage. And I'm sure if I stuck with it, I would be able to learn it better. But I'm like, wait, dual cast? Did I dual cast the last spell, or is this one it like? I was just so scatterbrained upon playing it.
It is a very complicated class, even at like level 50. Like, yeah, I did this exact same thing because I was overhyped for Red Mage because that's the one I was gonna do, and I got in there and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I've started to understand it now, but it's a class that I can't even imagine having this in a raid.
I remember when I was looking the new jobs, because we were stuck at Roman, I unlocked first Samurai and I placed the skills, and I was like, that's okay, that's fun to play, I guess. And I then unlocked Red Mage, and I started looking at the skills, and I was like, okay, I'll do it later and not now.
It's a bit daunting when you unlock it.
Okay, it's complex, more than we are used to, at least.
Probably the most complex class in the game.
I found it really hard to find the space to map everything also.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with that. Trying to figure out where to put things. Because you have like you have two like because you have the magic attacks and then you have the melee attacks, and you don't know like I'm still struggling with that.
Honestly feel like Red Mage is a class designed for controller users. Yeah, that's honestly how I feel. I feel like it would work a million times. It's the only job I feel that way about too.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, you're probably right, because you can switch. Yeah, that's true. You can just switch the bar to the. Now I'm in melee mode. Yeah, that would probably But yeah, it's a fun. I think overall both classes are fun. They're very, at least they're refreshing because they're not.
More Red Mage than Samurai.
Yeah. So it when you compare it to what we got in Heavensward, which was
RNG.
Yeah, it was an RNG class, a class no one understood, and just a emo Paladin was what we got then.
Remember when I was leveling Astrologian at level like 40?
I have seen the rise.
How was I enjoying it? And I told you it was the same as what Mage.
Oh yeah,
like with 1, 2, 3 different skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are much different than the jobs we had already.
Yeah,
I'm happy with it. Also, and now that I remember, moving to Paladin, can we?
Yeah, we can move to Paladin.
I'm really happy with it right now. I love the new AoE, but there is only one complaint I have. So we have Flash and that AoE, which I can't remember the name.
Circle of Scorn?
Total Eclipse.
No.
Total Eclipse.
Total Eclipse.
What one?
Total Eclipse.
Yeah, Total Eclipse. Why does not generate enmity? I'm really annoyed by that. Like in dungeons, I pull like 4, 5 mobs, and I had to use Flash thrice or twice before using that skill because I'll lose aggro. I lose the enmity. Why have they done that? Now we have 2 AoE skills. One that is for keeping enmity, and the other one that is for DPS. And why can't they make one skill just like the other ones?
That would be nice.
That's the only complaint I have.
Yeah.
That would be
nice.
nice.
I'm wasting DPS while doing Flash, right?
Yeah.
Because I could use the one that deals 110 potency instead.
Yeah.
So that's my only complaint. For the rest is fine. The rest, I'm happy with it.
I've been I thought Paladin was amazing. As soon as you hit 68 and you unlocked Requiescat, and could combine it with Holy Spirit, and you actually feel like you're doing awesome damage for the first time ever as a Paladin. It was fantastic, especially because Requiescat also buffs Clemency. I crit a Clemency for 25k the other day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, what? So I mean, I think Paladin's in an amazing spot. For the first time ever, I'm actually like, I think Paladin is finally a go-to tank. As far as other tanks, I've strangely enough found Warrior the most underwhelming of all the tanks.
Oh, interesting.
Not that they're bad or anything. I don't think any.
I remember I saw on Reddit a picture of a party in Party Finder that was the 9 warriors.
Oh, they really? Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry for you guys, change your role, like change your class. Yeah, I was very surprised. Like they only accepted Dark Knight and Paladin. It was very surprising. It might be just one guy.
Yeah, might just
one dumb guy, but
a hater.
I'm not gonna go and say Warrior's bad, because it's not. I don't think any tank is glaring like terrible per se. I just think that like Warrior's DPS got just destroyed with the new way they're scaling damage, and so they're not like the glaringly obvious main like DPS tank, because that would go to Dark Knight now, and Paladin is not far behind too. If you're in Shield or Ordo, if you're getting so many auto attacks and the potency's so good, the potency per second is really, really good there as well. So Warrior's only identity kind of went away in a sense. You know, you're not going to see those 10k crit fell cleaves.
Yeah, but they needed a nerf.
Of course.
Heavensward.
Same thing with Scholar too, right? Like they couldn't maintain that, just like being on top by so far. It's you know.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jazz, about the job gauges for Paladin at least?
Oh yeah,
the job gauge.
Yeah.
The job gauge, it's kind of useless. I mean, it's fine.
My biggest problem with it is when I'm in sword stance, in the skills that use that bar are not offensive. You know, it's you only have two of them. One is for blocking the next attack, and the other one is the damage reduction for another party member. So when you're like being an off tank, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think a really good use for I was kind of really wanting this the whole time, is a way that if you had nothing to spend your oath gauge on, a way to like refund it for some MP.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a really cool use for it. To be like, I don't need to cover anybody with intervention. I'm not main tanking, so I don't need Sheltron.
And cover was buffed, you know?
And then actually, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very useful now.
Mm-hmm.
It protects you from no matter what kind of damage the other guy is getting. It's very useful now. I got surprised by it.
Nice. Right. So, Maela, your Black Mage. Are you happy with the changes to your class?
Look, I'm very happy with Black Mage. I love Black Mage. It's just, I can admit it's less skilled now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, it's less skilled, but it's just fantastic. I can do my normal opener with 6 Fire 4s. I can jump into there, get my Umbral Hearts, go back in, triple cast, 6 more Fire 4s. It's beautiful. And then even in Umbral Ice, if I have Foul up, I can still get a decent amount of damage off. You know,
Foul is fantastic.
It's just so fun. My only issue with Black Mage now is I'm forced to use the higher tiers of Thunder. I can't use low Thunder and upgrade through the Thundercloud.
I love how we have an issue for our classes, like every one of us.
Everyone has an issue.
It's just one of them.
There is always something.
There is.
Also, I keep looking at the top of my screen for my Umbral stacks still. I can't get used to my job gauge. I might have to just move it to the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Foul is unbelievably satisfying.
Yeah. It's amazing. I need to keep Enochian up as well.
Yeah.
I hit a dummy for probably 40 minutes the other day because I just wanted to see it direct crit so bad. And it did eventually for 26k.
And
it was like, and I have garbage gear too. So like, although being legit, I don't think Black Mage is going to necessarily be, I don't know if its DPS is quite up to par.
I think get up it will be.
I think it will eventually as well. Like once we get more, I think specifically a little bit more spell speed and probably more like crit as well. But it's really good. It's really, really good. But I feel like we have to wait for a raid environment to see. And I'm the person who doesn't care about meta. I'm just worried that like having to move a lot. Yes, triple cast is fantastic, but like I was running it in Susano X and it was constantly just murdering my DPS. Like there's stuns in that fight and it's like, okay, well now I've lost Foul, I've lost Enochian. Sure, I can just put up Enochian again, but now I have to wait 30 seconds for another Foul and it's like, you know, you have 4 instant casts every 60 seconds. Sounds awesome compared to Red Mage, who has every second cast is instant. Like, they still have a little bit of a mobility problem.
Definitely, even with like the jumpy bits. I mean, I'm not like, I don't use ethereal manipulation very often anyway, so it'll take a lot of getting used to using that and the whatever the transport to ley lines thing was called.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think overall, though, we're pretty happy with. Even I am pretty happy with the changes. I have to admit that I went into Stormblood with my expectations like way low, and I was pleasantly surprised. My class isn't shit, everyone. My class isn't shit. Or I should say job now. I think we don't use class anymore. Though my class is pretty good too. Okay. So let's talk about trials and dungeons. Spoiler free. But I'm thinking more of how they are designed, how they are built up compared to what we got in A Realm Reborn and Heavensward. I'm just gonna say right now that I feel this is one of the things that I liked with Stormblood, that they tried different things. I'm talking about dungeons now. They tried some new stuff in the new dungeons, and some of it is slightly underwhelming, but it's still like, I feel like they're trying a little bit. There's especially one dungeon, everyone knows about this one if you've done it, where the second boss is basically not your cookie cutter boss.
Close,
which was actually really fun and caught me way off guard when I encountered it. That whole dungeon is amazing. It's I feel like because if you compare it to what we got in Heavensward, we just got the same recipe as we got in A Realm Reborn, more or less. Some of the mechanics were perhaps slightly different, but it was just, if you look at it, like it was pretty much A Realm Reborn dungeons with a Heavensward flavor.
Which dungeons in particular have made leveling seem infinitely more fun, in my opinion. Like, I've had so much fun leveling like Black Mage after I was done leveling Paladin. I was like, I'm not sick of these dungeons at all. Whereas like Dusk Vigil, I never wanted to run it again. I never wanted to run it again.
Yeah, Dusk Vigil was perhaps like the worst dungeon you could start with in Heavensward. It was like, why are you giving me Stone Vigil with blue hue? That's what that was.
It was optional, at least.
That's true, but I mean, you'd want to try the new dungeons when you're 51.
Yeah, and it gave you another current.
Yeah, that too.
compare that to the second dungeon, which is optional in Stormblood.
Yeah, that one was. That dungeon is Stormblood's Dusk Vigil, I think.
The biggest difference from Heavensward to Stormblood was the first dungeon. It was unexpected. And it was really good. I really loved the atmosphere. I did it at night, like the first day at night, and God, it was awesome. That was one of the moments where I felt like I was playing something really good. I don't know how to explain. I'm missing the words, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
A very good dungeon to start with.
There's God, we can't.
I know.
But I mean, probably next week we might start talking about the end game stuff. But overall, I think it was pretty well done. All of it except for that one dungeon, which I thought was pretty boring. But
I didn't.
It has a funny debuff in it.
It does have a funny debuff, and it has all the nice loot armor.
Oh yeah. The armor the gear that drops there is pretty good too.
So
not so much for male characters, but for females it's very good.
Yeah,
it looks awful on my heart.
It does not look.
It really accentuates the giraffe neck.
Yeah. So overall, I think that's we're all positive to that. More of that dungeon with the second boss, please. That was really fun.
Yes, please. Longer. Full raid with 24 men and one mistake.
Make Omega just that.
Please.
I wouldn't even be mad.
No. Can you imagine having to keep up that sort of like positioning for 15 minutes? It wouldn't be easy.
Oh, that would be great. Oh.
As far as trials go, I loved them. I guess we can say the names of the primals because
we know
everyone knows.
Susano specifically, it's really cool main tanking that fight because you get to feel like an absolute badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially because there's a unique animation for Paladin where you like throw your shield up in the. It's really really cool.
Yeah.
Music, awesome. Especially Lakshmi's music. I loved Lakshmi so much.
That I can't even describe how good that is.
Yeah,
that is
Lakshmi.
has to be like one of the best pieces of music in 14. And it just fits. It's just everything, and the transition in Lakshmi too. And we almost forgot to talk about this. That's a new thing that they've added, the duty action and the duty gauge, which are two new elements that are being used in. I don't know. Yeah, they are used in some dungeons, and in
dungeons, trials, some quests as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it adds like an extra layer of, like a little bit more, makes it a little bit more complex. And especially in Lakshmi, that's very well executed how that mechanic works.
Right. It actually, although I do think the extremes are really easy.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that.
Like clearing them within wiping 3 times and then.
Right.
Which is a little too easy, but
It's
I mean,
kind of like hard mode.
Yeah.
Kind of. It sort of is. Like people, I don't agree with it. People are like Lakshmi normal is harder than Lakshmi extreme, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But it's like they're really not far apart. Like they're very very easy to jump into. So I wish they could be a little bit harder. There's actually a mystery trial, which I won't say anything about, but there's a mystery trial, which is fantastic. It's probably one of the greatest in the entire game. That is actually harder than some of the extreme modes, if you ask me.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait till we can talk about that, by the way. Whenever we're doing a spoiler cast, I'm going to
we have to
just gush for 45 minutes about that.
Yeah. I almost started talking about it earlier. Oh god. So good trials. I felt like Lakshmi was just because of the music alone. I just felt like she just won the trials. I think she, because I can't see that animation for Susano. The thing I like about Susano, which is another thing that happens in there, is that there's like a point where you have to pay attention to a thing, and then you have to destroy the correct thing to save a party member. I think that was a neat little thing they put in there.
It's kind of easy though, because if you're the one inside, you can still mark it.
Yeah, so they should have probably locked the camera for that person, but yeah.
Is that to save someone? I've never even noticed anyone getting trapped in.
Oh really?
I just thought they were there.
When you're a black mage and you're finishing up your rotation, okay, I need to cast my fire one to oh no, I'm locked for 12 seconds. Or
yeah.
I do have one issue with the trials. I don't want to keep it too positive, Lukile.
Oh, good, good.
Once they've done their their full rotation, it just repeats.
Oh yeah.
For the whole thing.
Same with extreme as well.
They don't add anything in the later phase or anything like that. It's just the same. No, they're really good mechanics, but they do just repeat. So if they added a little bit more, like some new things to jump in at the end.
It feels like they have too few phases.
Yeah.
But yeah, hence why you can see the repeat. They start repeating. Yeah, I wish they had more, but they are, for what they have, they're really good.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's intentional that these are extremely easy. I mean, obviously it's intentional because they would have just made it harder. But I think maybe it might be because they know that there's going to be players that aren't necessarily going to go back and do the old extreme primals, and they're not going to have any sense of difficulty.
Right.
You know, I really think that that's why these are like a nice jumping in point for people who are maybe just starting to get good.
Yeah.
Bismarck and Ravana were both very easy at launch also, but I still feel like they were more difficult than these two are.
At least Ravana was. Bismarck was Bismarck.
Bismarck. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Good. It's all good. There's one thing I forgot to put on the list here, but that's PvP.
Yeah, I was going to mention that if you didn't.
That's a pretty important thing to talk about because that has completely changed, and for the better, it seems. We have
here have my last 3 bits. Lol.
Thank you for your 3 bits. PvP has changed, and the skills have changed.
Yes,
they've changed a lot. They have changed. I can't even wrap my head around it. I didn't do the feast, but I did frontline for lols, and I had to like learn how to be a PvP white mage because I can't cast protect anymore like I used to.
I did some white mage PvP too. It was like I didn't really like it.
I am pure support now, which is weird. I have 1 attack, and that's stone 3. Stone 3. It's not even 4. So I'm pure support, which is fine. I can probably adapt, but I haven't tried any of the other classes. I did try scholar, which is a confusing thing because your pet is a skill now, which you summon your pet. You think you summon your pet, but in reality you're just using your pet skill, and your pet appears, and whenever you heal, the pet heals as well, and then the timer runs out and it's gone.
PvP did a really interesting thing where it kind of flipped every job around for me. The jobs I really didn't like in PvP now became the jobs that I love because they're just so much different, right? Like they're nothing alike. Like I played quite a bit of Black Mage in PvP. I was never really that great at it. Never really enjoyed it that much. I've been playing Black Mage in PvP since. I'm like 12-0 all the time because it's just like I'm just melting people. It's so satisfying. So and I loved Paladin in PvP before, and while I do still think it's awesome, like one of the big things is that they gave every single tank, the end of their enmity combo is now a vuln for a target.
Oh,
so if you rage of alone someone, they're gonna take extra damage. So the utility of tanks in PvP went way up. But I played Paladin because I love to glory slash people off cliffs. That was like why I played it. Yeah. And I can't do that anymore. So I'm like, all right, I'll play DPS. And I've like the jobs, you can hate a job in PvE and absolutely love it, which was something that would have never happened before, right?
Right. And
what really? No, go ahead.
No, well, the really good thing now is that as long as you have the class to 30, you can play it in PvP and have all the skills unlocked.
But the issue people have been getting in PvP is when someone gets AFK in the middle of the battleground.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of them, according to people.
Yeah, because they implemented EXP for PvE classes, and you get a lot of PvP. No, sorry, EXP.
Yeah, that's what I read.
So people
it should really be less experience.
It seems like that was a bad idea, to be given that much, because now people just queue up and AFK for because you get EXP no matter what you do. So
and nobody can kick you until
15 minutes, isn't it?
I think so.
Or even
that's pointless. The battle has ended by then.
Yeah. So they either have to decrease the time for at least in the feast for when you can kick people.
2 minutes or
something like that. Yeah.
It's a big deal not having one in the party.
But this is the same issue that we had before when they first implemented tombstones in PvP, and people did the same shit then. But that sort of went away after a while, but I think that was mostly because PvP was boring or people just didn't. Queue times also started peaking, so when that starts happening, people just don't do it anymore. But
and I do think this will die out a lot as well once people have a lot more 70s.
Yeah.
I've mainly been using PvP to get me from 60 to 61 because I absolutely hate that level. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll play 5 matches and get to 61 so I can start running dungeons. So I do think that'll die out eventually as well.
Yeah.
My other issue with it is it's kind of like Palace of the Dead in the fact that it does not teach you how to level your job or how to play your job at all.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of samurais and red mages, a lot to level, that come out of that and they've not figured out how to play their job whatsoever, and they're level 70 now and they're ready to jump into hard stuff, but then there's having to almost go back to page 1 because they only learned this weird specific way to play samurai that doesn't even have abilities,
Yeah.
So I'm not really a huge fan of that. I actually think it's worse than Palace of the Dead for teaching you your job because you have 9 skills. Like it's
yeah.
you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah, you're right. That could be an issue. Yeah.
The thing that really impressed me with PvP. Now I've only done like those duels with you when we first checked out, but the way they consolidated the skills. So for Black Mage, when you click Enochian, that button then changes into Fire 4 or Blizzard 4, depending on which one you're in. So it's one button for 3 skills. For Flare, it will either be Flare, Freeze, or whatever that other Foul. I mean, just the way that it'll just fit together, it's just really nicely done.
Yeah.
And that, I really think it's going to change PvP and make it actually something people do.
Yeah, because
once all the other stuff dies out. I think, because as of looking at it right now, I played quite a bit of PvP before. I was never like super hardcore. I didn't go platinum in the Feast or anything like that, but I played quite a bit of it, and I thought it was really competitive. Right now, it seems like the competitiveness is kind of taken out of it, but I think that's because there's a lot of people playing PvP who aren't interested in PvP. They're just there for the experience, right? Yeah. So once that kind of dies out a little bit, I think it will become competitive again. I think PvP will be better than it ever has been.
Yeah.
As of right now, though, I don't really think it's in the best place.
But the question then is, if over time, has this saved PvP in Final Fantasy XIV? These changes, will this save PvP? Will it make PvP good again?
In my honest opinion, I don't think it's going to change anything. I think this is a very big spike in who's playing PvP right now. I think the reasons people are playing PvP are probably the biggest reason that it's not going to necessarily change all that much, because it's just, they're just playing it for experience, and some people aren't really even getting invested. If they were playing for a different reason, which I don't know what the reason would be. So
you mean PvP is popular now because it's a new thing and people are trying out for the first time?
Yeah.
Well, I think I haven't done anything in PvP. If I were them, I would just add a timer. No, I haven't played anything, but from what I read, I would just add a timer where if you don't use a skill in 2 minutes, you get kicked. But that will stop the people who just run in circles or just press the auto run key.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a great solution.
I think what would really help out, and I've had certain people agree, I think adding a death match would be a really good thing, because then for people who want a very simple, no strategy kind of PvP, can go into team deathmatch, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
And then the other things can be more for the strategizing, because I've tried to be like, guys, let's go do this.
Yeah.
And you just watch everybody. Like I no shit had a PvP match that the whole team, all 24 people, just started going in a circle around the entire map over and over and over again, just chasing people. And I was like, what is this? It's like a dog chasing his tail, like straight up. What is happening?
Capture the flag.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God. Yeah.
But if your first time doing PvP is this PvP, I think it will retain you a lot better than the old PvP.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely agree.
It's way more accessible.
I think it's going. I'm not going to say it's going to save PvP, but I definitely think it's going to keep it going, and
it's going to
hopefully revitalize it a bit.
Yeah. it has at least breathed new life into PvP.
We'll have to wait and see.
Time will tell, of course, if this actually helps it.
I can't believe I haven't done anything.
No,
in PvP
you should. I think the biggest moment for me was when I teleported to Wolf's Den Pier for the first time and saw this hot bar for the first time. Just seeing it switch to that and just like I have 5 skills.
You can be secure again.
Hey,
you can actually go back to the Cartno Flats and see that zone ever again. Like I was like, I really want to see Cartno Flats again. It's a really cool zone.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm never gonna see it again. And now you actually get it sometimes.
Yeah, true. What mode did they remove? They removed
Slaughter. They removed Team Deathmatch.
Which I don't like. Yeah.
Just remove Shatter.
Delete Shatter, please.
It's so annoying.
Hey man, Shatter isn't even PvE anymore. Like it used to just be like PvE in a PvP setting.
Yeah.
If you play a match now, everyone's just killing each other anyways. It's not, nobody goes for ice anymore.
No. That's what I played the other day, and it was I was surprised to be chased for once.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that was PvP. I think that's about. Oh wow, we've actually filled our time today. That's that's a big deal for us.
And we started on time today.
We started on time.
Wow.
What is and we haven't had a single technical difficulty.
Wow.
Why did you say that?
Oh,
Why
shit,
did you say
I
that?
said it too soon.
Why did you say that?
I'm terrified to press any buttons right now.
Below the ending screen.
Okay. That was that then. Thank you to everyone for watching. I think we wrapped up.
When are we gonna do a spoiler cast? When do you guys want to do that?
Week or 2, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe if you
maybe a
ask
month
people
actually after. I don't know.
their opinion, like a poll in Twitter.
A poll. You want us to put out a poll?
Yeah,
We could.
We could do that.
Because it's not about us; it's about them.
Because I think because I think we need to be extra careful because of what happened during early access and what's still going on right now with the instance servers. So there are probably people that are still very far behind when it comes to main story. But yeah, we'll I think if we don't just before we put out a poll, I think the most appropriate time would be in 1 to 2 weeks, 2 weeks perhaps.
Probably 2 weeks.
Yeah. You'll probably see a poll soon, so please make sure to answer that one. Okay.
Make sure to email us.
Oh yeah, there's
any of the bits. Just in case.
Email what?
So moderators.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Proofreaders, writers, and a producer, especially that's the big one.
Yeah.
Speakersofheidelin@gmail.com.
Yeah, that is what Maela said right there. We need moderators, proofreaders, writers, possibly a producer. So, speakersofheidelin@gmail.com. If you're interested, please send us a message. Okay, so you know where to follow us. It's everywhere, and
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
To the top of the screen.
There's also like a Discord server. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this now. Hold on. I think I'm very. Let's see if it actually posts on both. Okay. Hold on.
I think it's posted on neither. Oh, there you go.
Yep, there we go. It did it.
Hooray.
It did it on Twitch. It should have done it on YouTube as well.
It tried.
It tried. Anyway, yeah. Thank you guys for watching for tonight's. God, I'm starting now. Thank you for watching tonight's set. Let's just wait for that one to finish. Oh, no message.
Oh,
thank you for the chair. We'll be back next week, same time, 7 p.m. GMT, 12 p.m. PDT. I've been joined by Maela and Yazz, Orange Caramel. See you next week, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of Speakers of Heidlin. If you want to watch the show live, the show runs live every Saturday at 7 p.m. GMT, 12 p.m. PDT on twitch.tv/speakersofheidlin and on youtube.com/speakersxiv. If you want to support the show, consider pledging to our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/speakersxiv. Thank you.